Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Menachos Daf Chaf Gimel. We begin 3 lines from the top of the Amid. Itmar, we have a discussion in the Beis HaMedrash regarding a kaimet, the Menachos choite. So it's a Menachos choite that a sinner brings, which typically is beer. It's a mincha without oil. The Kohen decided to add to sprinkle a little oil onto the kaimet. So it was brought properly without oil. Then the kmitza took place. Kaimet, the Menachos choite sheshamnai. So he put some oil on the kaimets, perhaps just to keep it together as a glob, so it doesn't fall apart. The question is, what happens now? A Menachos choite is not meant to have oil. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is that, fine, it had no oil during the critical moments of kmitza, but now it's after kmitza. Perhaps you can add oil onto the kaimets. We have machlekes. Kaimets, the Menachos choite sheshamna Rabbi Yechon Omer pasul. This qualifies the mincha. It has oil. And the Torah says it's not meant to have oil. V'Reish Lakish Amar, he says just the opposite. Hu atzmai. If anything, it's meant to have a little oil at this stage. Mishach shechay b'shir hadlug. You're meant to smear a little oil on this. So wipe it at along the sides, the walls of a kli that has remnants of oil, leftovers of a different mincha. Umalayu. And put it on the mizbeach like that. They ask how do you take oil from another lug, from another mincha? It's now, that mincha will now be missing oil, which it's meant to have. So the answer is just on the walls of that other kli. So it's not really significant. It's not factored in to the other mincha. You can just glean some of that oil and use it for your. Ask the Gemara about ksiv, but the pasuk says lo yosam alei sheman. You're not meant to have oil or levoina. How do you add levoina oil at this point? Says the Gemara, who? That pasuk which instructs that no oil on a Menachos choite, that's official oil, formally added to that mincha. But at this late stage, you're just giving it a little smear. You're not meant to commit oil to the Menachos choite as you would on a regular mincha, but here is just a little smear by the way. Eisvei, here comes a question from Rabbi Yechon and the Reish Lakish. So you say it's okay to have some oil on the kaimets? Mishnah says charev shenis arev bebalul. You have Mishnah yesterday. Actually, it's a brayso, a little bit of different lashon. So charev shenis arev bebalul. A Menachos choite, which is a charev. Charev means it's dry. It got mixed into another mincha, which is balul, saturated with oil. What do you do now? Yakriv. You can just put the kmitza on the mizbeach, no problem. And Rashi explains, because according to Rabbanan, we're talking about oilin, right? Carbon materials, they don't nullify each other. There's no bittul, no problem. Keep on going. That is the chachamim. Rabbi Doimer lo yakriv, you can't be makriv it, because there's transfer of material. There's oil being transferred from the oily mincha to the non-oily mincha, which disqualifies it. There you go. Clearly, adding oil even at this stage is a problem. My love, let's assume we're speaking about this very case as described. Kaimes to Menachos choite, the arev becomes Menachos adava. We have a kaimes of a Menachos choite, which is meant to be beer of oil, mixed in with another kaimetz, which is meant to have oil, and that's where the problem begins. Says the Gemara, no, we're not speaking about a Menachos choite at all, because within the standard menachos, the oily menachos, there are various brands, various types. Some have more oil, some have less oil. The the one of the parim and the elim that come along with the cows and the rams have less oil versus the one with the sheep has more oil, and that's where the mix-up occurred. Some of this got mixed in with that. And that would present a problem, because now there was transfer of oil and it landed in into the material that's not meant to have that much oil. That's the issue. Lo minchas parim ve'elim make mitzvah minchas and sacham that comes along with the parim ve'elim, which are meant to be less oil, got mixed into with minchas kvasim, which are more oily. That's the issue. Well, that case is mentioned in the Brisa separately as a different case. That's not the case that the Brisa itself already discusses that. A mix-up between minchas parim ve'elim, minchas kvasim. And then it says v'charev, a dry one, which we assume is a minchas chayte, a separate case, inside of a bottle. Yikrav, and keep on going. Yikrav. So clearly, it's this very case as we discussed, a dry with a moist. Apparently, adding some oil to a dry mincha is a problem. No, the Brisa is not talking about a minchas chayte. Rather, we're speaking about a mix-up between parim, ve'elim, and kvasim. The Brisa is just explaining itself. It's about one case, but just sort of explaining it in different ways. Parim got mixed into kvasim, which is, the Brisa continues, charev and balal, relatively dry, relatively wet. That's the issue. But a minchas chayte, which got a little oil, by the way, that's not an issue. Fine. Okay, so again we have a shaila, a minchas chayte, which is not meant to have, officially not meant to have oil. After the kmitza, he added some oil. Rabbi Yechon says, Rabbi says, actually meant to do it so that it stays together, it doesn't crumble. But Rabbi comes a new question. So he has the kmitza of a regular mincha with oil, and for some reason he squeezed out the kmitza over the firewood on the mizbeach, and some oil dripped out. So now the kmitza is missing the oil onto the firewood, but then he put the kmitza right onto the oil onto the firewood. So really he's burning it all together, but it's detached. The oil got detached from the kmitza. What's the halacha? Chiburi oil, shall we say that the fact that he's connecting, mechaber, he's making contact between the oil that's sitting on the firewood below and the kmitza that's sitting above it. He's sort of connecting them. Chiburi, something which connects to oilin, regarding the kmitza, connects to the kmitza, which is an oilin. K'oilin dam, we treat that oil as if it's part and parcel, and reconnected it again with the kmitza, so we're back to good. Oilav k'oilin dami. What do we say? No, that doesn't affect a proper connection. It's not reinstated. The kmitza is missing that oil. This is an old discussion back in Maseches Vachim regarding a similar case of a bone with flesh. It got separated. What happened? So this fellow was outside the Beis Hamikdash, he's doing ma'ale b'chutz, which is navera. He's taking a portion of a korban, the limb of an oila, which has basar, it has flesh and it has bones. In order to be chayif of ma'ale b'chutz, it needs to be at least a kazayis. Hamala evra she'ema kazayis. So he's standing outside with a piece of meat which is less than a kazayis, doesn't qualify for the violation of ma'ale b'chutz, but there's a bone attached to it. You have a kazayis in total. Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayiv is fully liable. Counted together, you have a kazayis. Rish Lakish Amar Pater. No, there's no kazayis of basar. And the Gemara explains, Rabbi Yechon Amar Chayiv. You know why he's Chayiv? Chibur oilin k'oilin dami, because the bone which is attached to the proper carbon material, which is the flesh, is considered one and the same item. So you have a total of a kazayis. Rish Lakish Amar no Pater. Chibur oilin, just because it's attached to basar, doesn't count. Lav k'oilin damu. Apparently, they are discussing and disputing this very the point that we're talking about here regarding the oil and the kmitza. Is it connect or not? It seems to be subject to machlokes. No, said the Gemara, it's not really connected. You can go both ways because the two topics, two discussions aren't really related. You can differentiate. Our question regarding the dripped oil can apply to Rabbi Yochanan, can apply to Rish Lakish. Why? To buy the Rabbi Yechon, it could be applied to Rabbi Yechon. Ad kan look on Rabbi Yechon Hassam. Perhaps it's only over there. Rabbi Yechon considers the bone as one with the flesh. Ela ba'atzam, regarding a bone, the mina, the basar, it's one and the same type of material as the flesh. It goes together, flesh and, basar, adam, ba'atzam, it's all one entity. You can understand why it connects and counts in. Aval haidlav mina the kaimitzu, but here the oil is not one and the same material as the the kaimitz, as the flour. Loi, perhaps you can't relate it and connect it. Then what you can say the other way around, just the opposite. Perhaps it's only there by the separated bone, or only by the question of counting in the bone. The bone there is actually connected to the basar. The question is, shall we count it in to the kazayis or not? Ela be'etzem, it's only by the bone, the bar mifreshu, because a bone typically is meant to separate it, and typically it does separate, like very often on the once you put the basar on the on this beach, the power of the force of the fire, the heat just splatters it and the bone separates. In fact, if it does separate, and let's say it falls off the mizbeach, there's no mitzvah to put the bone back. So it's really not really one and the same as the basar. So you can understand why Rish Lakish considers it a part, and it can't be counted in as the part of the kazayis. But the oil from the kaimet is not something which typically separates. And halachically, it's regarded as the same status as the kaimet. Like perhaps it's different. And once they're touching, they're connected. Or you could say leishna. There's no difference between the bone, which is considered separate from the flesh, and the shemen, to be separate from the mincha teku. We leave it unresolved. So, interesting question. We had a machlekes regarding mala b'chutz, whether the bone that's touching and connected to the basar is counted in. Machlekes. Reichen says yes, Rish Lakish says no. And the question, in similar vein, is regarding the oil that dripped off the kmitza, but it's now sort of touching on the mizbeach. Is it connected or not? We have another shaila about that, and we leave it as teku. Says the Mishnah. Once again, we're going to speak about various mincha materials that got mixed up. We have two karba mincha sitting here, as yet untouched, meaning there was no kmitza done. So it's a bowl of dough. Two of them, and they got mixed up, zu b'zu. Can I proceed? Can I continue the process of kmitza? Well, it depends. If there is enough discernible material, so let's say they fell into one bowl, but most of it is still separate, to accommodate a separate kmitza, then you're good to go. There's enough material which has not yet mixed up with each other. So you can do kmitza from mincha A, mincha B without concerns of mix-up, ksheras. Then you're good. From lapsulis, if they're fully mixed up, you can't do kmitza. Of this mixed up material. Rashi brings a pasuk, misalta, you have to take its flour. You can't mix its flour with its friend's flour. Next case, you had two menachos. You did kmitza on mincha 1, and there was another mincha awaiting kmitza, and the kmitza from mincha 1 splashed into mincha B. You can't take the whole mix and put it on the mizbeach, because mincha B has not yet been nikmatz. Right? And there's no allowance to just take mincha material before kmitza and put it on the mizbeach. So even though there's kmitza in there, you're stuck. Vim hikta, but if he proceeded without asking any questions, so ultimately mincha 1 was accommodated because the kmitza material mixed into mincha B is still valid. Vim hikter, okay, so zusha nikmitza mincha 1 which had the kmitza done to it, it counts, it works. But zusha nikmitza but mincha B which never went through kmitza, will not be counted as a successful mincha. The owner will not be credited, has to bring another one. Next case, nisar of kaimsa, so a kaimetz got mixed into its own leftovers. Okay, so you have one mincha, you did kmitza, and it slipped right back in, and it's now mixed into the shirayim. B'shirayim, you're not allowed to be mak the shirayim, there's a lav. Or got mixed into the other mincha's leftovers after it had its kmitza done. Lo yaktar, you can't proceed with the yaktara. If he did it, he took the whole bowl, put it on the mizbeach, okay. So the one that had the kmitza done to it is ayla l'bayla. It counts for its owner, meaning it's kosher. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rav Chisda. Suppose you have a mix between kosher meat and non-kosher meat. Nevela betela b'shchuta. You have two pieces of a shchuta, properly shechted kosher meat, and one piece of a nevela, of a carcass of an animal that died, which is asur b'achila, it imparts tumah, right? So you have two shchuta with one piece of nevela. So one piece got mixed into two. Nevela betela b'shchuta. It becomes batal in the shchuta. Rashi explains. So now if one touches one of these three pieces, he's not going to be tummy. We could assume that he's touching the kosher meat. It's sort of batal. Okay? And the Farshim speak out likewise regarding kashrus eating. It's considered kosher. And explains that, we discussed this yesterday briefly. According to Rabbi Yehuda, let's say, when it's min b'minai, two items that are the same type, it's not going to be batal. There's no nullification. They don't cancel each other out. You know why? Because there's no opposition. There's no challenge. Bittul is the end result of a challenge, of a fight. And the majority override the minority. But when they're both the same they're both the same brand, the same type, there's no challenge taking place, there's no bittul. So we'll see in a minute exactly which opinion Rav Chisda is adopting regarding that discussion. But in general, we can fully understand in concept, something which is similar doesn't present a challenge. Something which is dissimilar puts up a fight. There's a battle, there's a challenge, there's a confrontation. And that generates bittul. So now we have several pieces. Minority and majority. You have 2 against 1, right? In this case, the shchuta is 2 and the nevela is 1. 2 against 1. Does bittul take place? Yes. Because although they're all three, or I should say both types here, are the same material, they're both meat. You would think they're both the same thing, there won't be bittul. The answer is no, because in terms of the halachic standing and status, these are 2 separate worlds. This is shchuta, this is nevela. And since the shchuta, the kosher, cannot become unkosher, and nevela can turn into a shchuta, so to speak, it can lose its tumah. We're going to see in a minute that once it gets spoiled, it becomes kosher again, it becomes free of tumah. So the non-kosher can sort of has potential to develop into a status similar to the kosher. So he doesn't present opposition to the kosher, but the kosher presents opposition to the non-kosher, because he can never turn non-kosher. He can't become tummy, he can't become an avail. According to Chizah, we focused on the mevatel, on the majority, which is trying to nullify the minority. That's going to be the key. And if he is different than the minority, so the 2 shchuta are different than the nevela that dropped into them, it is now considered a fight, a struggle. And therefore, bittul will take place, and the shchuta, which are the majority, will be mevatel the nevela. And he explains, she'i efshar. Why do we say shchuta is mevatel the nevela? She'i efshar l'shchuta, because it's a different type of thing. A shchuta cannot become nevela. She'i efshar l'shchuta sh'tas nevela. So that's why the nevela is batel. But suppose a table's turn. Let's redo the equation. 1 shchuta, 1 kosher falls into 2 nevela. So again, the focus is on the nevela, which is the majority. When he compares himself to the shchuta, is it different or is it the same? The same, because nevela can turn into shchuta, as we explained. He will become kosher, become free of tumah. So he doesn't present a challenge to the shchuta. He won't be mevatel. And therefore, if you touch any of these pieces, you can't know that you're a tummy, because maybe you touch the shchuta, which is free of tumah, because shchuta does not transform, does not become converted, doesn't transform into nevela. Shchuta, but one shchuta that drops into two nevela, ain't no betela b'nevela. Would not become batal to nevela. She'ef shel nevela, because when you focus on the majority element, which is the nevela, which have two against the one shchuta, that nevela doesn't oppose the shchuta. He's friends with him. She'ef shel nevela, also shchuta nevela can technically turn into shchuta, can become kosher, become free of tumah. The Gemara explains because once the nevela spoils past a certain point, parcha tumasa loses its tumah. Okay, so according to Rav Chizda, generally speaking, when it's min b'mina, the same type, there's no bittul, but if we can somehow establish that it's not really the same type. In fact, when we look at the majority element, he is different than the minority. So he's mevatel the minority. Rav Chanina Amar, he agrees in concept, but he chooses to focus on the minority. That's going to be the key. The same idea, but just shift from the looking at the determining by way of the majority, focus on the minority element here, and if that's the determining factor. If he is considered similar to the majority, no bittul. Dissimilar, yes bittul. Okay, so same concept, just the item that's trying to be bittul, that's the determining factor. Rav Chanina Amar Kol she'ef shel loy liyos k'mayu. The miut, right, the minority element, if you can develop into something similar to the majority element, ain't a bittul, then it's one and the same type. There's no opposition, no challenge, no confrontation. There's no bittul. However, if the miut cannot develop into the majority, bittul, then it's bittul because it's the similar. There's a challenge. I'll leave it to now. Regarding that general machlekes of yesterday, by a min b'mina mix, Rabbanan say yes, there's bittul unless it's oilin, unless it's carbon materials where we have a separate halacha. There's no bittul, but typically even min b'mina is batal, whereas Rabbi Yehuda says min b'mina is not batal. So our discussion of Chizda and Chanina, whose position are they adopting? Going like the Rabbanan. Ha'amri, they say even when they're one and the same type, there's bittul. So this whole discussion is really a non-starter according to them. Ha'amri, they say oilin hudleim vatli adadi. Carbon materials don't cancel each other out. Aval min b'mina batal, but otherwise, even if it's the same type, it's batal. Look, we look at the similarity in terms of halacha, and that's enough to make bittul. We don't relate to the physical makeup, relate to the halachic. So according to them, the vela shchuta in any configuration, there's bittul because this is asa, this is mutter. End of story. Are we going like Rabbi Yehuda? Well, then there won't be bittul. Whether it's shchuta, nevela, shchuta, doesn't matter. They're both pieces of meat. Rabbi Yehuda looks at the appearance. Remember we spoke about different types of bloods. Blood and blood are no bittul. So here, meat and meat is not bittul regardless. Whether it's nevela and shchuta, vice versa, it's the same, it's meat. There's no bittul. Oh, there's a third sheet of Reb Chia. Reb Chia, he says like this. Nevela shchuta betel zubezu, yeah. A mix between nevela and shchuta can have bittul. Now furthermore, let's elaborate. What is Reb Chia holding regarding the general question of the same types that got mixed up? Reb Chia, Alib Daban, whose position is he adopting? Alib the Rabban is going to Rabbanon. Again, it's not an issue. Everything's batal. Ha'amri, they say only oilin are not hudlem matli adadi. Hamin b'min batal. It's the same type. It's batal regardless. So basically, we're repeating the same question. If you leave the Rabbi going like Rabbi Yehuda, call min b'min Rabbi batal. Any min b'min, meat is not batal, irrespective of whether it's shchut or nevel. Rabbi Chia is following Rabbi Yehuda, who says typically min b'min is not batal, but he had a different understanding, a different version of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, that in this type of case there will be bittul. When Rabbi Yehuda says that min b'min, two of the same type don't have bittul, it only applies when in fact this can become like that. So the two elements of this mix can sort of develop into, then we say they're too similar, there's no bittul. Let me have a go say, but if the items are so far apart that they can't relate to each other, one cannot turn into the other, then even Rabbi Yehuda agrees that it's batal. So it's Rabbi Yehuda, but in a limited sense. All that Rabbi Yehuda says, min b'mina is not batal, but not always. When you could somehow figure out that one item can turn into the other, halachically speaking, for instance, that the nevela can turn into shchuta regarding hilchas tumah, regarding, then we say they're, when they cannot, again, min b'mina is ma batal, when they're so similar, but when you can figure out that this cannot develop into something similar to the other item in the mix, such as shchuta, which cannot feasibly turn into an avela, can become unkosher. In that case, they're far apart, there's opposition, there's a confrontation taking place, and there's bit. And the question just is, do we focus on the majority having potential to turn into a minority, or the opposite? That was a machlokes discussed before, between Rav Chanina and Rav Chisda. So again, it's Rabbi Yehuda, but when when this cannot relate to the other one, he can't turn it, then there's bittul. According to one way, we focus on the majority turning into the minority. According to the other approach, it's the miut turning into the whether he has the ability to turn into the rave. That's the setup here. Here is as follows. We focus on the mavata, whether he can turn into the miut. The opposite. We look at the bata, whether he can turn into the rave. Okay, so again, let's just recap. In the case of a taroivas of min b'minoy, going to Rabbanan, it's always bata, unless it's oilen. Going to Rabbi, there's no bittul. Rabbi Chia understood Rabbi Yehuda to learn that even according to him, min b'minoy is not bata. That's when they're absolutely the same. But when there's lo yafshel le'mihavak havasei, if the mix, let's say, involves shchuta and nevela, and the shchuta cannot relate to the nevela, it can't turn into nevela, it can never become unkosher, it can never become matame. You have an opposition, you have a confrontation, you have a conflict. There's bittul. Now, is the starting point the miut, whether you can turn into the roiv, or is it the other way around? That was the machlokes between Rav Chanina and Rav Chisda. Tanan, let's now take a look at our Mishnah and see if this works. Tanan, we have several cases of mix-ups in the Mishnah. First one is nan shtei menachos nikmitzu. You have two menachos before kmitza v'nisarva, and they got mixed up. Zubazu. Mishnah says, if there's still enough discernible, separate material, go ahead with the kmitza. If you can get some of this out separately, and some of this out separately, go ahead. Ksheres, then they're both good. Otherwise, they're psulis. Here comes the kash. So you have one bowl with two menachos partially mixed. You found a way, you've discovered some salvageable material, right? Mincha 1 is still partially unmixed, and you do a quick mitzvah right there. When you do that, what happens to the rest of Mincha 1 in this mix, in this bowl? It becomes shirayim. And this shirayim should not be mevatel the material of the second mincha that's mixed in with it, and nullify it. And now the second mincha is missing material. How could you proceed with a kmitza on the second mincha, which is now missing material? Some of it is now mixed into the shirayim of mincha 1. But in this case, given the kamisle micha, once he executes the kmitza, mincha 1, idach, the leftovers of mincha 1, which is in this bowl, havali shirayim, is treated as shirayim. And that should pose a problem. And we don't say that. We don't say that the shirayim of mincha 1 is mavatal. The tevel means the unprocessed mincha material of mincha b, which is in this mix. Why? Mani. Now, whose opinion is reflected in this Mishnah? Your Rabbanan is going like the Rabbanan. That's definitely a problem. Amri, they tell us, yeah, material which is on the way to the Mizbeach is not mavatal each other. Min b'minoi batal. But typically, min b'minoi is batal. And in this case, Rashi said the shirayim of mincha 1 is not considered oil, it's leftovers. They should, in effect, nullify whatever is mixed in with them. Only way out is Rabbi Yehuda. Since they're all the same materials, there's no bittul. We're not done, hold it. Because we've just concluded, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, when there's a dissimilarity between the two materials, there's bittul. So again, we're talking about a mix-up, sort of a confrontation between the shirayim of mincha 1 with the unprocessed mincha B. And the mavatal is the shirayim of mincha 1. The batal is the material of mincha B. Let's take a step back and analyze whether these two materials are similar or they're somewhat dissimilar, which would trigger the bittul issue. So, so according to the opinion that we look at the minority, he is the determinant. If he can turn to the majority, then there's no bittul. Otherwise, there is bittul. So that solves the problem, because batal, the element that's being batal, meaning the unprocessed material of mincha B, which we're asking about, that it should be batal into the leftovers of mincha A, havakim batal. He's not opposing, he's not challenging. In fact, he's very similar to the mavatal, to the leftovers of mincha 1, because he too will turn into shirayim just in a couple of minutes as soon as the kmitza takes place on mincha B. So he has that element of potential within himself to become shirayim. So he's good friends with the shirayim of mincha 1. They're both the same on the same page. There's no battle, right? Because once he does the kmitza of mincha B, the unmixed material in this bowl of mincha B, so the leftovers of mincha B, which is now mixed into the leftovers of mincha 1, is going to turn into shirayim kiyana, just like mincha 1's leftovers. So they have that commonality between them. Again, even though mincha 1's leftovers is not shirayim and mincha B is unprocessed, it's not shirayim, it's called tevel, but in a second it's going to be shirayim. It has that potential within itself to turn into shirayim, so he's good friends with the leftovers of mincha 1. They're both the same minimum, there's no bittul. That prevents the bittul. Kiyana. But that's good if we look at the batal as a starting point of our equation. According to the other opinion, we look at the mavatal as a starting point of this process. He's the boss. So he's the shirayim, and he's trying to mavatal a tevel that's mixed in with him. So you have to evaluate whether shirayim can turn into tevel. That would preempt the bittul, but if he can't, there's a challenge, and there's bittul. The answer is no, he can't turn it. Shirayim, leftovers mikahavi tivla. How could he turn into tevel? Leftovers cannot turn into unprocessed. It would appear that this Mishnah is in conflict with Rav Chia's concept. Look at Rav Chia. Says the Gemara, you know what? We have an easy way out here. I mentioned this a while ago. That let's go back to the Rabbanon who say Oilin anam abatl each other. We're going like the Rabbanon. Mizbeach materials don't cancel each other out. They're unique. They're special. But here we're talking about shirayim, which is no longer mizbeach material. It's meant for the Canaan dancers. Even shirayim retain that status. We have a special pasuk for that. To Reb Zera, that can be answered according to Reb Zera. Reb Zera, nemrak Torah v'kaimetz. The Torah says v'makta the kaimetz. Clearly, it's mizbeach material. And guess what? V'nemrak Torah b'shirayim. By the leftover, the Torah says don't be makter it. So it's in a negative, but we see the Torah relates to it as something which is haktarable. So we compare the two. And we treat it like oilin, and bittul will not apply. Just like the kaimetz, which has the term haktorah related to it. Kaimetz do not cancel each other out. They're both oilin. Likewise, shirayim, even leftovers. Since haktorah relates to them as well, in the pasuk, ein shirayim they will not nullify a kaimetz, and that addresses our problem. The shirayim will not nullify the other mincha. Okay, continues the Gemara with the next question. From the next mix-up in the Mishnah, and actually the Gemara will go with the second case and the third case, and the answer will pretty much be all one and the same idea, that there's no bittul because of what we just said. Tashma kaimetz. In the next case, we have a a kmitza of mincha 1 dropped into a bowl of mincha B before kmitza. Lo yakter, you can't do haktara because you're not makter. Unprocessed mincha. But if you did the whole bowl put the whole bowl on the mizbeach, including the kmitza mixed in it, fine. Done is done. Zusha nikmitza, so mincha 1 which had the kmitza done to it, and that kmitza was now in this bowl, which is now in the mizbeach. Also l'baylim is considered a kosher mincha. V'ushlo nikmitza mincha B which never had kmitza. Lo yosel l'baylim doesn't count, doesn't work. Now, the kmitza of mincha 1 dropped into a huge bowl of tevel, of unprocessed mincha. Why isn't it a bottle? We see that there's no issue. But like him avatil, le'tevel, l'kaim is the tevel is not avatil, l'kaim is the question is why? I understand they're the same material, but according to Rabbanan, even the same materials are bottle. Mani, who's speaking? I Rabbanan. Well, Ha'amri, they tell us, Oilen, Hudlem, Matli, Hadad. The only Oilen do not cancel each other out. But here are the second mincha, which is unprocessed. It's not oilen. Ha min b'min bottle, but regular min is bottle. El pshit Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, let's explore Rabbi Yehuda. But even according to him, when there is dissimilarity, there is bittul. Okay, so let's go to the next step. What's the focal point? The mevatel or the bottle? Well, that's the machlokes we had before. So according to the approach that we focus on the mevatel, which in this case is the unprocessed material of mincha B, which is trying to nullify the kaimitz of mincha 1 that dropped into them, so we're safe. Why? Because mevatel have kebatel. Mincha B's material is very similar to the kmitza that dropped into it, because it will turn into batel, meaning to say it's still pre-kmitza and it's awaiting kmitza. It relates to kmitza. It can become a kaimitz on its own. So it's very similar to the kaimitz that dropped into it. The whole porta, because every drop of that unprocessed mincha B is suitable for the act of kmitza from it, right? So in a way you can say every particle in that bowl is potential kmitza material, so it's similar to the kmitza, so similarity preempts bittul. Avli min is the same min, avli min umin is like batel, so we're good. If we focus on the bottle, on the kaimis that drop into the bowl, and evaluate whether he can turn into a similar state to the mavatal, to the unprocessed, that cannot be so. Kaimitz, can the kaimitz turn into tevel? Of course not. So we should have bittul. So this mission is inconsistent with Reb Chia? The answer is like we said before. Hanamik the Reb Zera taught us this huge chiddush that all the material in a mincha is considered like oilin, and according to Rabbanan, oilin not matli each other. Tashmai comes the next kasha. The next case inside of comes to Shirayim Shachaberta. The kaim is dropped into Shirayim. Well, yakter, you can't do haktara. You can't be makter Shirayim. If you did it, also l'baylam accounts. Same question. Ha'achat le'havei mevatel kebatel. The mevatel, which is the Shirayim, cannot turn into the kaimitz material which dropped into them. So bittul should take place. Well, like mevatel Shirayim l'kaim. We don't say the Shirayim, which is the greater share of the mix, and not mevatel the kaimitz. Why? Mani Rabban is going there. Rabban until we end up, with Reb Zera. Reb Zera nemak Torah b'kaimitz, nemak Torah b'shirayim. HaTorah relates to the kaimitz, relates to the shirayim, and there's no bittul. Going to Rabban, oilan and nemak each other. Mak Torah more b'kaimitz, any kaimitz, just like by the kaimitz where it relates to HaTorah, there's no bittul. Af HaTorah b'shirayim. Likewise with the leftovers of the or any mincha material, any shirayim b'atnas hakaimitz, there's no bittul taking place. Tashmai comes another kasha from Hilchas Pesach, from matzah. Tibla beketzach. So he has a dough meant for matzah making. He spiced it up with some, what's it called? The kimmel, the black seasoning. With some sesame, all types of seasonings and spices. Kshera still could be used for matzah. Technically, it's matzah. El shenikras matzah metavelas. You got very spicy matzah, very seasoned matzah, but it's still matzah. Now, what are the proportions here? What are the ratios? Because some that we figure the apish la tavlan tfeim matzah. What happened was he loaded it up with so much seasoning, more than the dough. So you have 51% seasoning, 49% dough. Why is it considered kosher matzah, which is meant to be made strictly out of dough, right? So again, let's analyze the equation. If the focus is on the bottle, so as we said, 49% dough, so that's the bottle. That's the minority element within the equation. If he's the focal point, bottle will become a bottle. So we're safe. You know why? Because dough can develop into seasoning. What does that mean? Once the dough spoils, if you leave it around, it spoils, it can turn inedible and unsuitable for matzah. So halachically speaking, he has potential to develop, to cross over lines, to turn into the same status as the, to adopt the same status as the mevatel, as the 51% seasoning with respect to matzah use. It turns into tavlin. So now, he's similar in nature to the tavlin. That turns into the min b'minai. Same type, no challenge, no confrontation, no conflict, no bittul. So you have dough and you have matzah. But if the starting point is the other way around, the focal point is the mevatel. If the focus is on the mevatel, 51% seasoning cannot be upgraded into dough. It can become kosher dough. It can become matzah material. Tavlin mikava matzah. Can tavlin become matzah? Of course not. It can't turn into dough. It can't turn into suitable matzah material. So he's dissimilar. It's min b'shei nemine. Confrontation occurred. Conflicts occurring. There should be betel. The dough should become bottle. It should not be kosher for matzah. Says the Gemara, hold it. We're not speaking about such drastic proportions. Actually, just a little bit of seasoning. So the tables turn. My skin was speaking to he didn't add that much seasoning. So in fact, the ruba matzi, it's mostly matzah, 51% kosher dough. And that explains why it works. But so the dough is certainly not going to be bottle to the small amount of seasoning. The economy, the wording of the brisa indicates as such as well. The Tani, it says matzahi, it's called matzah. Apparently that's the majority stake here, is dough. Considered seasoned matzah, that's what you call it, but it's mostly matzah, mostly proper dough, so there's no issue of bittul. Okay, so the first discussion was a little oil that was sprinkled on the kaimitz, machlekes there. We had another shaila regarding the oil that dripped out of the kaimitz, and the kaimitz was sort of connected to it and put on the mizbeach. Is that going to be good? We had a teiku on that. We had several cases of mincha mix-ups. And then we discussed, in general, the idea of min b'minoi, according to Rabbanan, there's bittul, except if it's oilin. And the chiddush was that even shirayim, any mincha material is considered is considered not bittul enabled because of Reb Zer's chiddush. According to Rabbi Yehuda, min b'minoi is batal. But according to Reb Chia's understanding, in some cases there won't be bittul. If you can determine that, this element cannot relate to the other element, it can't turn into that, it can't adopt that, status, so there's no bittul. And there was a question of whether, we focus, the starting point is on the mevatel, and whether he can turn into batel, or is it batel turning into mevat? That was the machlekes and chizr and Reb Chanina, and we explained the Mishnah according to all opinions. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.